Welcome to the Return to Her podcast. I'm Cassie Dalton, experienced yoga teacher, energy worker, and wellness coach who is passionate about helping women reconnect with their true selves and thrive in all areas of life. Even though I'm still doing the work on my own wellness and spiritual path, my mission now is to guide you in reigniting your inner spark and living in alignment with the unique calling of your soul. Let's create a pathway to empowerment, balance, and authentic living. Your journey starts here, and I am so excited to support you every step of the way. Welcome back to another episode of Return to Her. I am so grateful that you're here today because we're going to be diving into a topic that is really close to my heart: befriending the body. This episode is all about deepening our relationship with our bodies, recognizing them as the sacred vessels that they truly are, and understanding how our words, thoughts, and energy shape our physical well-being. This conversation is for anyone who has ever struggled with body image, self-criticism, or feeling disconnected from themselves in general. My hope is that by the end of this episode, you will have a new sense of appreciation for your body, and you'll also learn some practical ways to communicate with it with more love and support. But before we begin, I want to offer a quick disclaimer. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Always seek the advice of your physician or another qualified health provider with any questions that you may have regarding a medical condition or concern, and never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you heard on this podcast. All right, everybody, let's get into it. Your body is your most loyal friend. My spiritual teacher said this in passing a few years ago during a group call while he was talking about something else, but the impact of that statement hit me so hard that I had to walk away from the call and sit with it for a moment. Even now, just thinking about it, it brings tears to my eyes because I can feel the truth of this statement on a very visceral level. Your body is your most loyal friend, the most loyal one you'll ever have. It has been with you through everything, every heartbreak, every triumph. It has outlasted every relationship that you've ever had. For those of you who have experienced pregnancy, it has faithfully accommodated the growth of someone that you've literally loved into life. If you've been able to carry to term, it has brought that life into this physical world. From the moment that your soul came into it until the moment your soul leaves, it has worked and will continue to work tirelessly for you, trying to serve you in the best way that it knows how. And even though it is subject to the laws of nature and the environmental and genetic factors that play out through this physical existence, it is always loving you, holding you, supporting you however it can, even when we don't treat it with the love and kindness it deserves. It is, to me, almost like the most loving, loyal, golden retriever you could imagine. No matter what, it keeps coming back, wanting only to love and to be loved by you in return. So when we think of it this way, how can we honor that? How can we meet our bodies with the love that it deserves instead of criticism or the need to control it in some way? Think about what happens when we speak lovingly to plants. They thrive. Science has actually demonstrated this, that plants respond to the energy of words, music, and even human intention. When spoken to with kindness and encouragement, plants end up growing more vibrantly, their leaves stretch toward the light, and they develop stronger roots. On the other side of that spectrum, when plants are exposed to really harsh words or neglect, they begin to wither. Why? Because everything carries energy, words, thoughts, emotions, and living beings absorb and respond to that energy of words, thoughts, and emotions. And really, we are more like plants than we realize. They need sunlight. We need sunlight. They absorb water and nutrients from the earth. We are composed primarily of water and require nourishment from nature. Their roots seek stability in the soil, and we too always need a sense of grounding and connection if we're going to thrive. Plants rely on the right balance of elements, nourishment, and care to grow strong, just as we do. When we speak lovingly to a plant, it grows with more vibrancy. So, what happens when we speak lovingly to ourselves? If a simple houseplant can respond to words and intention, how much more powerful must our own bodies be in receiving and responding to the frequencies that we emit and that are emitted all around us all the time based on the environment that we're in? Let's think about water. Some of you know this if you're into Reiki and energy healing. Research on water molecules revealed that words and intentions shape the physical structure of the water molecules. Water that was spoken to with love, gratitude, kindness, those more positive, higher vibrational frequencies, those water molecules actually formed intricate and beautiful crystalline patterns. And they were all different based on which word, which energy was put into it. While the water that was subjected to harsh words and negativity in general, those water molecules became much more chaotic, much more distorted when they formed their crystalline structures, their patterns. So, if our bodies are composed primarily of water, why wouldn't it make sense that our thoughts, words, and emotions would have the same impact on our cell as it would on the structure of water molecules? We are deeply affected by the vibrations that we surround ourselves with, our internal dialogue, the words of others, the environments that we inhabit, the music we listen to, the sounds and the noise that we hear when we go into certain locations, or even in the entertainment that we plug into. When we nourish ourselves with loving words and we put ourselves in places and situations that are more positive in the vibration that they carry, we flourish. When we bombard ourselves with criticism, we shrink. When we prop ourselves up with love, again, we grow. So that's why, really, everything that we talked about in the last few episodes is so crucial for us to continue on our wellness and spiritual paths. Observing our thoughts, noticing whether they are coming from fear and limitation, otherwise known as the ego, or if they're coming from that sense of love and expansion I refer to as the higher self. That is essential work. If you haven't listened to episodes 4 and 5 yet, I highly recommend going back because they do lay the foundation for this conversation. Even I re-listen to my own episodes because we all need reminders of these things. That is one of the most frustrating things I've found about being on a spiritual path is that we forget what we know, and then we have moments of remembering, and then we forget again, and then we get reminded and we remember. I think the way that the world is designed is it's designed to make us forget and forget and forget. So we have to keep doing the things that help us remember again and again and again. And that's why I'm so happy that you guys continue to show up. And that's why I go back and re-listen to the things that I've said. We all need reminders. All right, so I'm going to go slightly different direction and just stick with me on this one, okay? So when we think about our body, a lot of times we identify actually as our body, the challenges that the body is going through. We become those challenges. We feel like we are those challenges. Same thing happens with our mind. If we're really in our monkey mind and if we're really in our ego identification, we start to form our identity around those thought patterns, those stories, those beliefs. And I often say in my yoga classes to remember that you're not your body and that you're not your mind. We are not the physical body. We're not the thinking mind or the ego identification. Really, what we are is a soul that is moving through this world, utilizing this physical manifestation we call our body mind so that it can navigate the physical reality and experience the world. And our bodies are not just vessels. Sometimes I even get tripped up in my own language. I think of it like a vessel, but it's more than that. It is actually the instrument through which God plays this beautiful orchestra. It is the instrument of divine love that is always channeling healing and kindness. While we are alive, our body is the way that God moves through us and through the world. God works through our hands when we comfort someone who is hurting, through our voices when we speak truth and kindness and love, through our eyes when we are looking kindly onto another person or into a situation that needs a little bit of upliftment, through our physical presence when we hold space for someone who is in pain. Every act of service, every moment of connection between us and another living being, that's God using our body as an instrument of love, channels through which healing and kindness can ripple out into the world and make a huge impact. And yet, so many of us, especially women, have been conditioned to believe that our worth is tied up into how our physical body looks based on societal standards, into how small we can make ourselves, how smooth our skin is, how well we can hide all of the evidence of aging that's going on our face, our hands, our neck, our hair. And don't get me wrong. I certainly am not judging anybody for coloring their hair or going through cosmetic procedures because it's something that makes them feel better. I want you to understand, though, if you are making decisions about your appearance based on fear of rejection or self limiting beliefs, that's where I really want you to hit pause and think about what belief is driving that particular behavior or that need to fix or perfect the way that you look. And if you choose to do any sort of procedure, whether it's something as simple as coloring your hair or something more extreme, then choose it consciously, not because you're moving from a place of fear of rejection or your self worth is tied up with how you look, but because that particular thing helps you feel empowered in some way or it helps you heal in some way. Let me give you an example of that. Something that my yoga teacher said many years ago that kind of blew my mind was she was talking about her Botox procedures that she gets on, I don't remember, I think it's called the 11 lines, those two lines between your eyebrows that for some people they get really, really deep. She was talking about how she has zero shame about the fact that she gets Botox there because when she was younger, she was abused by her father. And now, when she looks in the mirror and sees these two deep lines that have become more pronounced, she's reminded of her father. She sees him when she sees herself. And as part of her healing journey, she decided she didn't want to see that anymore. So she gets Botox to help reduce those lines so that she feels like herself when she looks in the mirror. And I thought that was pretty badass and empowering, honestly, that she realized that and she made that choice for herself. I relate to what my yoga teacher was talking about. I have been going through a process for the last couple of months where I'm working with an esthetician because I wanted to soften these really deep horizontal lines that are on my neck. And it's not because I think wrinkles are bad, it's because I was bullied when I was in middle school for these deep lines. And I didn't realize until recently how much that bullying actually affected me. I had so much pain in this area, so much emotional trauma from that bullying. It blocked my throat chakra for a very long time. It kept me small and silent for years. I didn't want anyone to pay attention to me because I didn't want to bring any attention to that area of my body. So I minimized my voice and tried to keep it super quiet so that no one would notice me. And now, as I step more into my voice consciously, reclaiming that area, reclaiming my self expression, I want to support myself in that process. So, my procedures that I've been going through in order to help reduce the visibility of those really deep lines is part of my healing process. It's not because I'm trying to hide something, it's because I'm trying to shed a little bit more light there energetically for myself and allow myself to finally heal from that trauma. So if you're choosing from a place of this makes me feel badass or this makes me feel like I can heal this part of me that needs to be healed, whether it's coloring your hair or wearing makeup or even aesthetic treatments, things that you're consciously choosing, cool, do it. But when these choices of trying to minimize your body, trying to control it with exercise and diet or starvation, trying to constantly find the next skin rejuvenation process, when those choices are coming from a place of fear that you're not enough, fear of being rejected, a belief that you have to look a certain way in order to be worthy of love or to be accepted, that's where I really want you to think about this stuff. I'm not criticizing. I have my own hangups with my body even now. I said in episode 2, I have a long history of eating disorders and disordered eating patterns that still sometimes even affects me today when I'm not paying attention. So this episode about befriending the body is as much for me as it is for anybody else. Just please always know there's no judgment here. And the most important thing I want everyone to come away with from this part of the conversation, anyway, is that whatever we choose for our bodies, do it with love, with awareness, with gratitude. Honestly, I'm still really grateful that I went through that experience in a way because, like everything else on my journey, it has helped me become who I am now. All right, getting back to what I was talking about, what if instead of seeing our physical body as something that is separate from us, what if we started to see it as a wise and deeply intuitive ally? Your body is always communicating. It is telling you when you are depleted, when you're energized, when something excites you, when something doesn't quite feel right, when someone is trustworthy, or when maybe they're not. These gut reactions, these waves of exhaustion, these sparks of inspiration, or that sense of tension in your shoulders or tightness in your chest. Those are all ways that the body is communicating with you in the present moment because the body is always in the present moment. It is always aware of exactly what is going on in this now moment. What if we approached it with a sense of curiosity and reverence, listening to the subtle ways that it speaks to us every single day instead of constantly ignoring or criticizing those subtle communication tools that it uses. When we ignore, whether intentionally or unintentionally, the signals that our body is giving us, we are disconnecting from ourselves. But when we learn to listen and honor what our body is telling us, we build a deeper relationship of trust with the body. And that ability for the body to communicate with us, it just gets stronger. So, how do we start listening? One of the most effective ways is through movement. Yoga, for example, is a powerful practice, not because it's just some other exercise class to do. And by the way, whatever exercise that you love to do, please do it. I think any movement is valuable in this regard. But yoga for me, it helps to bring me into this direct conversation with my body. When we're moving through yoga poses, we begin to notice areas that we're holding tension. We notice areas where we need to bring more awareness, where we need to expand into our breath a little bit deeper, where we can soften a little bit more. You also start to develop this deeper awareness of how your emotions are showing up in physical ways. But if yoga is not your thing, that's totally cool. There's so many other ways to build this sense of connection and communication with your body. So here are a few more practices that you can start doing today. The first one is body scanning. Take a moment, sit down or lie down, close your eyes, scan your body from head to toe. Notice as you're scanning, go slowly. Where are the areas of tension? Where might be an area of warmth or discomfort? Just observe without judgment, because sometimes all our body wants from us is to acknowledge its existence and to acknowledge where it might be holding a little bit more tension, and it need to breathe your awareness into that area so that it can release and let go of what it's been trying to communicate now that you have heard it. Another thing that you can try is mindful breathing, breathing with awareness. So throughout the day, pause and simply take a few deep breaths. Notice how it feels as the breath comes into the lungs. Notice how it feels as the breath leaves. Notice how the breath sounds when it comes in and out. Notice how it feels. Does it feel cool or warm as it comes through your nose or through your mouth? Simply becoming more aware of your breath, noticing it, will start to anchor you more and more in the present moment. Again, where the body is always hanging out, but the mind almost never is. Another strategy you can try is journaling with the body. So instead of just journaling about your thoughts, ask your body how it feels today. Write down any messages it might be trying to send you. If you are coupling this with the body scan, start by scanning through the body, noticing these areas where the body might feel tense or uncomfortable. You can even notice where the body might feel really light and open. And then you might have a journaling dialogue where you ask the body in those areas to tell you what it needs to tell you. Write down anything that comes out of this experience. And it doesn't even have to make sense at first, but just start to show the body that you're listening to it You're trusting what it's saying, and you are doing something with that information. Another thing you can try is what I'm going to call nourishing movement. It doesn't have to be some physical activity that feels stressful or exhausting to you. Simply stretching, maybe a little dance in your kitchen while you're waiting for your coffee to brew, or taking a slow and mindful walk without any fixed idea of how far you should go, how fast. Simply letting yourself be with nature, moving in ways that feel good. We're not doing these things as a way of burning calories or meeting our step goal or whatever other metric that sometimes we apply to these movements. Simply, we're choosing to be with our body in this moment and honor its needs. And then the final thing, eating with presence. Instead of just rushing through your meals, take a moment to check in, noticing the flavors, the textures, noticing how it feels when you're chewing, and then feeling that sense of fullness and satiety in your body once it has received this nourishing meal, rather than rushing to dessert or running on to your next whatever your to-do is after your meal. Simply appreciate how your body is receiving this nourishment and see what that does for you through the rest of your day. So, I've listed a lot of things that you can start to do to help build the sense of communication and mutual trust with your body. And over time, these small practices really do build that foundation of trust. The more that you listen, the more your body will speak. And the more you honor the messages that the body is giving you, the more ease and alignment you'll find in your daily life. So today, I invite you to choose just one of these practices. Start small. Commit to listening to your body in just one way, and then notice what shifts. Your body is your most loyal friend, your most faithful companion. It is the instrument of your soul, the way that God moves through you and into the world. So love it, listen to it, honor it. If this episode resonated with you, please take a minute, rate, review, follow the podcast, share it with anyone that you know who might need to hear this message today. If you want more resources or more opportunities to work with me, connect with me on Instagram at Cassie Dalton XO, or reach out to me through my website, wholebeingjourney.com. I also have this upcoming yoga membership. I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to share it with you guys. I'm not quite finished getting everything in order to launch that yet, but it's going to be amazing. I'm going to have yoga videos, meditation practices, other things that are really great for our wellness journey, such as journaling prompts and Reiki self-care practices, challenges, things like that. So I really am so looking forward to launching that. Those of you that have been asking me about it, hang tight. It's almost ready. Remember, if you enjoyed this episode, rate, review, follow the podcast, share it. And until next time, remember, you are already whole and you already have everything you need within you. I'll see you next time as we return to her.